Hello, I'm Brian Fitzgerald, the Golf Doctor, and today I'm going to give some advice to my younger self. So I was thinking about this during the week, and I was thinking if I could go back and advise the young Brian, what are some of the things that I would help young Brian to do a bit differently? And when I'm advising young Brian, I'm also advising you. I think there's lessons to be learned for everyone, no matter what your skill level, not someone aspiring to be a golf professional like I was, but I think there's some take-homes that you can start making a few adjustments and it might help. So if this is your first time to this channel, welcome. This channel is all about helping you play better golf and most importantly, lowering your golf score. And there's a lot of videos out there telling you lots of technical things, and I've done a few of those in the past, but really, having a better score, I think, is just not as hard as changing your golf swing. So every video I make is at the forefront, trying to give you the opportunity to have a better score. So one of the first bits of advice I would give young Brian is just stop hitting so many golf balls. I grew up playing golf. I really started when I was 5, so that was around about 1969, 1970. And golf was a different beast back then. Growing up, my idols were Jack Nicklaus, of course. In Australia, they were David Graham. He was a very big idol. He and I shared the same golf coach, Alex Mercer. And I used to hear stories about how hard David Graham practiced. And he basically, and this is straight from Alex's mouth, he used to practice until his hands bled, and then when his hands were bleeding, he practiced some more. So that was my vision of what it took to be a successful golf player. So I practiced hard. I remember I had a practice ball bag that fitted 100 golf balls, and my father would drop me off in the school holidays on his way to work at the golf course, and I'd be dropped off about 10 to 8 in the morning, and he would pick me up about 10 past 4 in the afternoon. And I was there all that time, and that 100 ball practice bag, I would spend most of the day on the practice fairway. There was no range. We had to pick up our own balls back then. And I would hit that bag 15 times consistently, and I would still do a little bit of other stuff along the way. And of course, I'd have breaks for morning tea and lunch. But I basically was hitting 1,500 balls a day. Now, at the time, I was going through a major swing change, and I did need to do a lot of practice and work on that swing change. And my golf swing in my early days was terrible, but Alex refined it, and I'm very grateful to what he did and the changes that I made. But I really had to work hard on it. But if I could advise myself back then, if I could go back in time and just say, Brian, 200 to 300 balls is more than enough to make the swing change that you need. Go and spend the rest of the time practicing your pitching and learning to control the distance that you hit the ball with your wedges, and learn to flight it. Learn to hit a low pitch, a medium pitch and a high pitch. And that would have been a lot more beneficial to my scoring than just belting golf balls. I had this vision that the only way you could have a good score was to hit the ball down the middle of the fairway, get the ball onto the green, and occasionally hole a putt. So I was always a fairly good ball striker, and I hit a lot of greens for regulation. But I didn't realise that just hitting the ball on the green isn't really a mark of success. I had a lot of days where I hit 18 greens. In fact, there was one day, I remember, it was in the old Swan Hill golf course. I hit every par 3 for 1, I hit every par 4 for 2, and then I hit every par 5 for 2. So I basically hit the equivalent of 22 greens for regulation. What do you think I shot that day? I shot 68. It was a par 72, and I 2-putted every single hole. So I came off thinking, gee, I played great today. But when I look back on it now, I really didn't play that well. Hitting the ball on the green, sure, it's a great goal, but I really needed to hit the ball closer to the flag. I need to put my ball in better positions. So I was always just firing at the green. I didn't really think too much about what side of the green I wanted to hit on. So if I could really advise it, I'd say get better at trying to locate an area of the green that you want to hit to. And I short-sighted myself a lot because I was such a good ball striker. I just felt like I was Superman, and I aimed at the flag pretty much all day. And most of the time that was good, but I'd miss 3 or 4 greens, and you just could not get the ball up and down no matter how good your short game was. And back then my short game wasn't as good as it should have been. So I really start thinking about, can I hit the ball in different parts of the green? And I would certainly hit a lot less golf balls. I know I came home from those sessions hitting all those golf balls, and my hands were sore. I was physically tired, and I just thought, well, this is the price you have to pay to be good. And I had back trouble. I had a wrist problem. I look back now, and it was just overtraining off very hard ground, and no wonder my hands and wrists were sore. So you don't need to hit that many balls, even to make a swing change. You really don't. 200 to 300 is plenty. But really develop those short game skills. I think I would also advise the young Brian to spend a lot more time around the short game area. Not just pitching, but really focus on putting. And I used to do a bit of putting, but I don't think I did it correctly. I just kept going and playing mini golf. I'd go from one hole to the next hole to the next hole to the next hole, and they were all 10 to 15 feet. If I went back and advised the young Brian, I'd say really work on distance control. Get a circle of tees around the hole, and I've said this on quite a few videos before, but make a circle around the hole with, say, 8 tees, 1 putter length from the hole, and then mark off golf tees from, say, 15 feet, 18 feet, 21, all the way back as far as you like, and just with one ball, just try and get used to getting the ball into the circle. So you're not too worried about the hole, you're trying to get the ball inside the circle. And you won't be very good when you start doing that, but the more you practice it, the better your distance control will get. And that is really good practice. If you're doing it with a bunch of balls, you sort of get good at it eventually, but that's a skill you never need to use when you're on the golf course, because on the golf course you never get 5 attempts and then have to go live on the 6th. You get one chance. So the more you can practice with one ball, making one ball count, I think it's a really beneficial way of practicing. And I would be working a lot of putts of under 10 feet. So I'd probably go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and just keep working from different areas of the green, not just uphill putts, but downhill left to right, just all around the hole, and really concentrate on that. I'd also try and put myself in bad positions around the green, so when I did short side myself, I was able to hit the ball just that little bit closer and give myself a better chance of getting it up and down. Of course, I shouldn't be there, but the way my mentality was at the time, I was always going to short side myself. So practice the skills that you know you need to have and the way you play golf. So if you don't hit the ball very aggressively toward the flag, you're probably not going to short side yourself very much. So it's not as important to practice that shot. But I would also spend some time on pitching and really getting those pitching distances, as I said, getting the control of distance and the flight of the distance. That would really set you up. And I think if I had have been able to do that instead of hitting the 1,500 balls, I would have been a much better player. Don't get me wrong, I don't regret that I wasn't as successful as I hoped to be. Everything that I learnt, I now use in my day-to-day coaching. So it was a bit like going to university and getting my degree in coaching, which you can get one, I suppose, but I built that degree over a lifetime of learning on and off the golf course. The other big mistake that I made when I was playing professionally is I just played too much. I played day after day after day. So there was a period every year, and back then the Australian tour was quite good. We used to have 12 to 14 weeks in a row playing 4-round tournaments, which is just fantastic. I think now we have 4 or 5 in total over the whole year. But from basically mid to late September right through until just before Christmas, there was a 4-round tournament somewhere in Australia or New Zealand every single week. So it was a great way of learning your skill and putting it into practice over 4 rounds, because playing 4 rounds is different to playing in one-day pro-ams. But I would probably start in about April. I'd have a little break in March, and then start in April, and we'd play one-day pro-ams pretty much all through. We'd drive across to Adelaide, over to Perth, come back via Mildura, and then we'd head through Sydney, and then we'd follow the sun through winter, and we'd get up to Queensland and North Queensland, and every day was either spent playing in a pro-am or driving. And by the time early October came around and those big 4-round tournaments, my batteries were spent. I just didn't have any energy. I was irritable. I showed a bit of bad temper, and it was just through fatigue. I don't naturally have a bad temper. Sure, I'm competitive, but I think back then I was gone before the whole thing started. So whatever success I had really was just my natural ability coming out. I really didn't do myself many favours in playing so much. If I could go back, I'd say probably take early September off and just freshen up. Even if I stayed up in Queensland, just to have a bit of a rest, do some swimming, certainly work on my game, but not play and drive every day. So I would definitely go back and change that. Between that and hitting too many balls, I think my career could have turned out slightly differently. But make sure you give yourself some rest days, and it's good to have a little break every now and again. You come back fresher and you have a clearer plan on what you can do. I would also advise the young Brian to get fitter. Back then, I only knew of 2 people that went to the gym. One was Gary Player, and he was legendary with what he did in the gym, and the other one was a guy called Greg Norman. No one else that I remember was going to the gym. In fact, I didn't do it, but I remember people poking fun at Greg, saying, should be out there hitting balls and not spending time in the gym. I think we've all learned that spending time in the gym is very, very important. So back then, other than Greg and Gary Player, and Gary Player had pretty much finished playing when I was playing, they were the only 2 in the gym. Now there's hardly anyone that doesn't go to the gym to some degree. So I would certainly advise the young Brian to get a good trainer and get into the gym. And no matter what your standard, I think there's benefits to be gained by improving your physical strength and using the golf muscles, not just doing your own program. Consult someone that's an expert in the area and try and work on those golf muscles, and you'll find you'll hit it better. You will also hit it further for less energy, and it's certainly going to help with fighting off fatigue. The fitter you are, the less tired you're going to get. And probably the final thing that I would advise myself, and I was very late in doing this, but that was the era that we lived in, is I would have tried to seek a sports psychologist earlier. I did seek one out toward the end of my career, and boy, did it help. It really gave me some clarity, and it helped me a lot. And I was playing some really good golf when I finished. And I could have gone on for a lot longer, and I'm sure I would have been more successful if I had have stayed there. But I was just burnt out, and I really wanted to stay in one place. I got sick of the grind of travel. And traveling is great. I love travel now, but I don't like the thought of traveling and playing golf. It sounds very glamorous, but it can be very boring, and a lot of lonely hours were spent in hotel rooms. So I certainly would advise anyone at any level to seek the help of a sports psychologist. It really does help on those rounds. It helps you on your best days, sure. It's going to help you a little bit. But I think it's going to help you on those really bad days. So to improve our golf, we don't have to play better than we currently do on our good day. We want to make sure that our bad day is much, much better. So if we can make what's really bad average, we're going to improve a lot. So certainly seek out a sports psychologist. I have one that I work with. So if anyone wants to ask me who that is, I can do that. Just send me an email or send me a message, and I can put you in contact with that guy. And that's pretty much it. So hopefully this has helped you. It's been good thinking about it and looking back on the errors that I made. So I wouldn't want anyone to make the same errors that I did. So thank you for letting me help you with your golf. I'm Brian Fitzgerald, the Golf Doctor, and I'll look forward to seeing you in my next video.